Well, folks, that's scintillating live YouTube for you. Had a little power loss here, and my internet went out, but it is back. So I've sent Sovereign Key a note via email. Hopefully she'll come back, and we'll be able to get this great meeting in. I really want to do it, and I hope that she'll be able to come back, and we'll just we'll assume that she's going to be able to, and we'll just hang out here. And here she is. How about that? She's a trooper. Let me go ahead and bring her back. Scintillating live YouTube. But we're back.
I have a very large coffee, so I'm all right.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. So you were talking about, before we went to break, you were talking about your belief regarding geographic formations being at least pieces or parts of beings of old.
Yeah, I do feel that the entire foundation is from an original body, or at least, you know, a large chunk of an original body that merged with another original body. From that point on, other wars occurred, other weaponry was used, petrification weaponry was used also, and these were beings that were huge. They were Titans. They were
so do I understand you to say that the Earth itself that we know was a body?
I believe so.
Wow. That's very interesting. I don't think I've ever heard that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I asked you that question because I used to think that that was the silliest thing ever. I thought it was pareidolia or whatever that word is. People see what they want to see.
Yeah.
And then I used to be a lot more closed-minded than I am right now, which is hard for some people to believe. But I used to think that it was just silly. But as I had Breaking Dawn, Deborah L. Smith on my show, and she started showing me these pictures, and SANDRA, my partner in life in this work, started talking to me about it. And all of a sudden, and I was interviewed Magenta Pixie, and all these things are happening. And all of a sudden, I could just see it. And it was like blinders were taken down. And I really believe that there are stratifications. You know, you talked about, what was the type of weaponry? You said petrification.
Petrification weapons.
And I really do believe now that there are some geographical indications that did used to be living beings.
Yeah. It's very apparent for those that travel a lot.
And I'm going to just play in the background as we talk your video that you did on that. I won't put the sound up, but I'll just let people see the pictures.
I mean, what I believe that in 2009, one of the preliminary veils that was here was removed when a new energetic came in. When that happened, I believe that a lot of people were able to see a lot more that was always there, but they were blinded to it, just like what you were saying, Jeffrey, that, you know, it's just suddenly you can see it, whereas it was always there. You're not receptive to it. So that frequency is just not even on your radar. Well, in 2009, something very large happened. And at that point, people started seeing more and more and more. An acceleration started taking place. So, and if you look at Google Maps and you start doing your research, you can also see, you could see dragons, you can see, there's a lot. We have this entire world is a living artifact.
I mean, look at these pictures. Some of them are just absolutely staggering.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, when you think about the movies that come out like Transformers and the Rise of the Titans, Revenge of the Titans, all those other movies, and they talk about things like that, and it does allow you to understand that we are not getting by any means the whole story, and a lot of times the whole story is being hidden from us as well.
Oh, absolutely. This is all contrived. This is all, the life that we're living, the Truman Show that we're living is contrived. It's a script, and we're only now starting to utilize the tiny amount of technology that we're allowed to have, because they want us to think that this is cutting edge. The 5G is cutting edge. It's not. None of these things are. They give us the crumbs. They give us the pieces that belong to the prehistoric. And then we have to work magic with it. So I think with the acceleration that's happening, a lot of people are utilizing whatever we have in terms of technology and utilizing our abilities, our innate meta gifts, and we're able to break through and finally start accessing the real information, and it's right in front of us.
Absolutely. And I think you hit on a big point there. They want to tell us, 5G is the best thing, and we've got these horrible energy weapons and these scalar weapons and these, I don't know, they're not taser, but stinger, all of this horrible technology. And when I hear about more and more of this coming out, it actually encourages me, because the way I look at it is the powers that be, the Illuminati, whatever you call them, they are there, the financial elites of old. They know that it really is an energetic battle. And they know that we have access to the true meta gifts that you were speaking about, the true energetic gifts. And they know that we're waking up, and they're desperately trying to do everything they can to bring out something that will stop us from waking up. Because once we realize what we have, we'll realize that the things that they're using are the pop guns, and things we've got are the real things.
Yeah. Well, it's going to render what they have obsolete to us, because it's based on us. Their technology is, in essence, mapping our systems. That's what it is. So they're taking the artificial route to mimic what we are.
That's exactly right. I believe 100%.
So once people start getting that and just using what you are and have and bringing that out more, and a lot of these gifts are dormant. So just like DNA can be dormant, and they know it's dormant. This is why MK Ultra and Mind, all of the different kinds of programming that are done are based on, deprogramming you in your codes. Because they know everything is in there, and they know what's dormant, and they know, this whole thing with 99% junk DNA. Well, you know what? That's where all your metagifts are. They want you to think it's junk DNA.
Absolutely. And when I interviewed Magenta Pixie, she said something to me that I knew intuitively, but I thought it was more of a spiritual thing. But she shared with me, and I think that this is right on, that, what I considered as a, spiritual rebirth, spiritual regeneration, building back my subtle body, if you will, ascending, getting better. She shared with me, and I think this is true, there's actually a reconstruction of a crystalline body, or a reconstruction of a crystalline DNA grid. So we actually are rebuilding ourselves. We're like, you're too young for this, but Steve Austin, the $6 Million Man, we're getting better, stronger, faster, because we are literally being reconstructed. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think the reconstruction is going back to our original blueprint.
I agree.
It's not a new one. So really what happened is that we were degraded. And in that degrading, we were devolved. And we were kept in stasis. So whereas everybody should have already evolved naturally to that blueprint of origin, they kept us in holding, you could say. So
Gotcha.
Now none of those are able to be locked in. We're not able to be locked in that same way. We're actually have broken and are breaking out of that. So we are returning to our original crystalline origins and our gold. So this is really what we are and what we've always been.
What do you think that looks like?
We're getting rid of the overlays that they've done to us in order to keep us from our natural evolution in this.
What do you think we were originally? What do you think we were degraded from?
Well, I think that what we were was, and what we are is everything. So this is what the universe is made out of. This is what the multiverse is made out of. Literally, it's the stuff that we are. It comes from us. But what the degrading was that as creator beings, too powerful if you have somebody else that wants in on the goods, right?
Right.
So somebody else steps in and they want to take over and make it into their ghetto, whatever you want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're too powerful. We're going to have to cause something to happen so that we can find a way to hijack you to get in. So the original plan of everyone discovering their ability as creators and working with it and naturally evolving was thwarted by these invaders who hijacked. And not only that, but then there's the question of this particular reality that we're in, the mind of, quote, this creator is not necessarily us or ours. So we've joined some other's mind in the creation of this reality, which you could call Yahweh, Al-Devoeth, he's got many names.
Right.
Which, wanted this particular part of the real estate for his own game, you could say. And in a way, a trapping occurred. So the devolution that I speak of is one that is unjust. It's not within any sovereign right. In fact, our sovereign rights were removed and taken away. And a very, very tricky little plot occurred with the removal of your memories, allowing for further hijacking and allowing for them to overlay everybody's DNA and neural memory to be corrupted, and now to have disease, death, and to have something that they could control. So if they could cause that, if that could be caused within you, then they can control everything much better. If you're going to live to be 10,000 years, you're going to be able to evolve all your metagifts. You're going to be able to do, you're not going to be able to be hidden away in somebody else's little tinker top little box.
Absolutely.
For their use. So something had to happen. And why just out of the blue do you have people dying at such a young age? Why do people age, period? Why is there disease? None of these things are innate in us. In fact, the way that we are designed is so that we regenerate constantly, and we don't age, and we don't have disease. So these are all control measures.
I think you're absolutely right. And I don't know how much you know about my background, but I was 20 years as a Protestant minister full time, and I saw cracks in the foundation of big time religion. But as you talk about this, I think about when I left what religion taught and still really believed a lot in the Bible, went back to what the Bible taught. And now I've realized the Bible's probably 80% dung, 20% diamond. And then even the Old Testament is not really the Bible. It's really ancient Hebrew Chaldean literature borrowed heavily from the Sumerians and the and some of the old cultures. But if you look at the text of the Bible as an ancient Hebrew Chaldean text, you'll see that there was a perfect creation. You'll see that we were created in the image of the gods, the Elohim, and that there seems to have been a being that was threatened by us, and that being launched a war against us, destroyed a perfect earth between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2, using petrification weapons, much like you talk about. And this being actually did destroy a perfect world. And believe it or not, the book of Revelation that everybody thinks happens in the future happened between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2. And it describes this war that you talk about, and the war that we see the ramifications of and the remnants of all over our planet. And it's staggering when you think about the implications of that.
Right. And so what was it? I am a jealous God. Ye shall have no other gods. Worship me. I mean, it's my God against your God. Well, he did break out from the council.
He did. He broke away from the council of the Elohim, literally.
Yeah. And then it's been that ever since.
Absolutely.
So, whereas originally, we would have been everybody would have been free to discover their sovereign creator abilities, their meta gifts. They would have been, you know, at the height of whatever it is that their being is and wanted to experience. Well, it has been a coma.
It has been a coma.
So it's only now we're starting to arouse a little bit out of the coma.
Why do you think we are?
Well, I have been shown that this is not just because of us. This is help from the infiniverse, and you could say the true family, the true celestial. I don't know, these words are really terrible, but like we only have words to use. So you could say the, you know, father, mother universe,
right?
Father, mother infiniverse, had to create this at this stage something so severe to help in a way that would not impede our personal will.
I like that.
But that it would aid us with our own will, because we have to choose to utilize these energies or not choose to. So these energies are coming in the form of waves. They're coming in the form of frequencies that are impacting us in a micro macrocosm, so that we're either going to push forward and through, or we're going to collapse in it and allow the imposter mind to be trapped.
Right.
And play out whatever it needs to. So it's going to be two extremes. Either way, the help is in such a way that you get to choose. It's your personal evolution. There's nothing, there's no energy that is pushing, you know, your will, which is the perfect law.
Absolutely. And it's funny because for years I've had this vision of how things were going to be when things began to wrap up. Even back when I was a Christian, I'd have this vision, and it's a vision of two rivers that are side by side, and they're moving very fast, but they're moving in opposite directions. And one is the river of the people that are, quote unquote, waking up and saying, yes, we receive it and go on. And the other river is the people that have just said, oh, the heck with it, we're just going to go on for the flow. Do you have a sense of which river's larger, what most people are choosing?
Oh boy, do I. Yeah, I do.
Is it worth trying to sit on the bank of the wider river with all the people that are just letting it go by? Is it worth trying to sit there and scream out to people to turn around, or once they've made that decision, are they pretty much done?
You know, they have had so many encounters. They have had so many confirmations. They have had a plethora of non-ending. It isn't really up to us to try and scream at them at all. Okay. The choices, there were many things that have been happening, especially since, I mean, we could go back to the 80s, and then the 90s, the late 90s, the beginning of the, 2003, we could go into 2009, I'll start there because there were so many critical events that occurred from that.
Can you give us an idea of what some of those were?
Of the critical events?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, like I say, this one particular phase entered, which was one of the largest waves.
Okay. Are we talking about energetic waves, spiritual waves?
Energetic wave, yeah. Okay. And it's an actual frequency. It impacted the Schumann resonance, and it has been doing so ever since.
Right.
It has been doing that to our DNA. So we have been literally we've been whammed over and over and over again. And it's a very tough transition because basically what's happening to us genetically, neurally, is occurring at a very short time, whereas theoretically it would be over 1,000 years or something.
For a natural transition.
Right. So, but there's no time. So the way that, and they knew this, so it's been very, very condensed. and compacted so that we're doing it quickly. But it's really difficult physically to endure this. It's physically, energetically exhausting. So a lot of people are experiencing the very strange fatigue, body aches and pains, morphing. So your body's morphing strangely, and it's kind of like, you know.
People actually have told me probably now 100 times, you look different from day to day. You look different from minute to minute. It looks like you're changing.
Yeah.
And, Sandra, really, really tired, really, really fatigued, can't figure it out. There's just some heavy stuff trying to get us ready, and it's trying to get us ready in a short time.
Right. So while this is happening, I mean, this is happening to everyone. The difference is, because this is based on your free will and your sovereignty, you are going to manifest and be the result of that which you have always been. Okay, so if you are lethargic and you decide to do nothing, and you just, you think that you don't have to, these are choices that you made in the past. It's not a new choice in this body. This is a problem that has happened and has been following you for a long time.
Interesting. Let me ask you a question. Let's take for example, the two people I know that are experiencing this. Sandra, arguably more spiritual than me, arguably has done more inner work than me, arguably has done more shadow work than me. And then here's me, and I'm flying high. I'm feeling great. I'm rocking and rolling. And she is, really tired, really, really run down, doing all she can just to stay awake past 7:30 at night. Why would it affect a more spiritual person in a harder way than it affects arguably a less spiritual person?
Okay, so the concept of more or less is probably not correct.
Probably not.
But let's just say Sandra's destiny may be completely different, and she may be utilized on many levels. She may be working 24/7, as in even when she sleeps, she may be doing things. And her energetics may be embedded within densities already. So when you put this on top of it, you just get a complete, like, imagine somebody who hasn't slept in 10 years.
And ever. She's an empath too, so add that in.
So it's really more about what you are doing. You may not be conscious of it, but you are doing other things than just what you're doing.
So that means I'm not doing nothing.
So no, that means that you may be doing something that's more on the third density. Your energetics may be much more fundamental on this level, which means you get more energy on this level.
Interesting.
So if you're spread out with other, throughout other levels, you're gonna have energetic issues until you can transmute it all. But if your energy gets to be reserved for this area and you're not targeted, so the less that you're targeted, also, you may have transmuted a lot of things without even realizing it.
I think when you said that kind of clicked in me that's a reality.
Yeah. So because if you see certain people that don't get hit by, I mean, I'm going to use energetic waves as an example.
Okay.
All right. Years ago, I was being hit by a lot of these microwaves and things like that before I was able to transmute it. And I had to learn a lot. Well, ever since I was young, because, of the targeting. So I had to learn a lot quickly how to use my abilities. And finally I was able to, so I could create, and I can use the energy itself, and I could create my own cage, sort of like a Faraday cage, right?
Right.
So I don't feel the effects. Let's just say that.
I don't feel them at all. I really don't.
Right. So whereas somebody beside me is completely the opposite, hypersensitive, and they're just, wow. I mean, you can even see that it's affecting their skin, like their discoloration, and they're just, yeah. So this is what I'm saying. It's a form of transmutation also. So you may have transmuted a lot, so you don't feel anything, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting because this just gives you an idea of where I am with a different analogy. Back when I was I was an evangelist, I'd go from church to church to church and do these big meetings. And one of the traditions was that they would put pies for you on these tables. And after the meeting, everybody would eat pie. And my favorite was pecan. And I'm over there eating a piece of pecan pie. And this lady comes up to me and she says, I don't know why you're not dead. I'm like, excuse me. She says, I hate you. I'm a black magic witch, and I've been putting poisoned pecan pies on your table for 6 months. So this lady had actually been poisoning me and working dark magic on me, and I was impervious to it. So it's just one of those things.
Exactly. And that's exactly it. So a lot of what people have to learn here is transmuting energy. Why? Because you are energy. Everything is energy. So you have to learn how to transmute the very environment that you are.
Do you teach people how to do that?
Yes.
Can you describe that process a little bit?
It's not, it can never be a quick thing because every person is at a specific level. So it isn't just about how to transmute it. You have to take their trauma where they're at. You have to uncover the things that are hidden with connect. Okay, because this is a part of transmuting. It isn't just about, oh, I'm just going to transmute the energy. If you don't get that the energy has everything to do with everything you've experienced, what you've done with it, what you continue to do with it, what you hold on to, then you're not going to be able to handle the other areas. So it has to be in layers, right?
Absolutely.
I always say bottoms up.
You know, it's funny. I do something that I call analytical life track analysis and repair. And it's going back over your life, finding those issues, working through them. And if I can get back to the earliest one or a real early one and they can release it, I'll find that a lot of them will just pop, 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 pop.
Absolutely.
And it's the same kind of thing. And it's hard work. It's daunting work, but it's really the only way if you want to transmute and move on up.
Yeah. Well, because if I'm going to say to you, yeah, you know what, Jeffrey, why don't you just do A, B, and C to transmute the energy, but you're constantly locked into your trauma that happened to you when you were young and you can't move forward and everything in your life is impacted, your relationships, you name it, right? But then I'm trying to teach you all I'm trying to take you to Z when you're at A.
So you're a Canadian, it sounds like.
Oh, I'm actually Spanish. And I'm a Spanish Canadian.
Okay, because Zed, I have some Canadian friends. Zed is definitely a Canadian thing.
We are Zed people.
Wow. So what do you recommend to people that are really being hit hard? What should they do to try to get to a place where they can learn to transmute and get out from under such a heavy burden and begin to feel good again and feel optimal again and move on?
Well, that's a really broad question, because what I can say is this. If you're living in a way that life is really difficult and it feels like you're fighting to survive, then you need to look at what it is that is haunting you, what ghosts you have decided to make your life live in, because you're living in a ghost. You're living in a ghost of your past. So if I said to somebody, what are you full up of? And they say to me, shame. Or they say, I suffer a lot from guilt. Like I have a lot of guilt. Or they say, I have a lot of regret. Or I have a lot of, and then the shame, let's say, we'll just take shame as an example.
Okay.
And then you say, well, look at what has created this. Because typically speaking, everything that is negative on that polarity isn't really from you. It's something that you accepted. So this is something that is an agreement of entrapment that occurred through some trauma that was caused to you, or that you later caused yourself as a form of punishment. So if you start looking at what caused that, you start realizing and seeing the imposter that created it. Because is it really shame? I mean, is there really any of those things within us? I mean, you know, when you decide to go into the underverse and do things that are connected to the underverse, then you're creating a world of karma.
Now, how would you define the underverse?
The underverse, let's just say people who are living the dark aspect of themselves through any means. You can, rape, thievery, lying,
Psychopathy, sociopathy, narcissism.
You know, murder, pornography.
You know, I was just talking about that earlier today, and pornography, I don't think we get it. We've been so desensitized, but pornography really is one of the, I believe it's one of the strongest debasing elements to us spiritually and energetically. You start watching pornography, and there's no way to keep your vibration up. It's insidious, because we're taught, oh, you know, it's just erotica. It's not that big a deal. But if you don't think it's a big deal, you really need to get your head checked out, your spirit checked out, because it's insidious, and it's really, I don't think horrific is too strong a word.
I agree with you completely. If people really saw it for what it is and what it's doing to them, because it is single-handedly destroying the fabric of morality and relationships.
And it's getting us into this free sex, let's have sex with anybody, anywhere, anytime, which is just as insidious.
Yeah, it is completely maligning everything that you are. And it's infecting you on a spirit level. It's infecting you on a soul level.
It is infecting you, isn't it? And I had a revelation yesterday, and ever since I talked to Magenta Pixie, I'm like, are these downloads? Are these messages from the collective council or whatever? But I realized that, we think about sex and creation. Sex is meant for creation, but we're so myopic from how we've been fooled that we think that just means babies. But the babies is the smallest part of it. Every single time you have sex, you're creating.
Yes.
And the type of sex that you're having dictates the type of stuff you're creating. So if you're having sacred sexuality, you're creating some great, powerful, sacred things. If you're having mundane or even profane sexuality, what do you think you're creating?
Right. And the black magicians know this. This is why they love this. This is why they advocate. And why is it that in the internet, the governments of the world can't seem to stop free pornography sites?
Because they don't want to.
But they seem to be able to stop small little, truth sites, or they seem
didn't have any trouble shutting down Heidi Vandenberg, did they?
Think about it. It's the same as drugs. I mean, really? You can't seem to stop that? You all just seem to, you're so efficient finding certain.
They found Saddam Hussein in a hole in the middle of the desert.
Right, but you can't seem to stop porn or drugs or any of the. So this is by design. It's all by design, and this is what they want.
Now, what do you say to the person that says, oh, you guys are just being too moralistic? Pornography is really not that bad.
Well, scientifically speaking, they know that pornography rewires the brain. So it teaches you to, what is it when you want something right away? It's instant gratification. So what it does is it teaches you to have instant gratification. Therefore, you're not going to want to go through intimacy with somebody, and you're not going to want to get connected into your heart or through your heart, because it takes work.
And it takes time.
And it takes time, but that also implicates you for living in general, because what that does, it trains the person to want instant gratification in everything.
Mm-hmm. And we never take the time to get into sacred sexuality and true creation,
right,
of benevolent, beautiful, harmonious, energetic emanations.
Right. So then what you have is you have this person who doesn't know then how to express love. They don't know how to love. And when they go to do that, they debase the person they love and
That's right.
essentially abuse them.
They do.
So
And
it
I've
ends
been
up,
called, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
go ahead, Jeffrey.
I actually have been, and this is probably telling on myself a little bit. I've never been I've seen porn, but I never was really a porn guy. But there's other things that, come across your feed on YouTube that aren't pornography, because you can't really have pornography on YouTube, but they may not be so profane, but they're at least mundane. And I got called the other day to a higher level of, it's not pornography, but why are you even watching that? Because even that is going to lower your vibration. Even that is going to, and it's somewhat profane, but even if it's just mundane, why do you want to waste your time on the mundane or the profane when you can spend your time in the sacred? So it's not even pornography from anymore. It's, anything that's of that realm that would take my focus off of the sacredness of sexuality and love and expression.
And life, yeah.
And life, yeah.
I mean, look, even if it's titillating,
That's a good word.
Somebody could say, oh, well, I don't look at porn, but they watch pictures of, women in, wearing bikinis or wearing the next best thing to being nude. And then they can say to themselves, oh, well, I'm not doing that. I'm just, admiring beauty. But the truth is, if it's being done to titillate, then it's the same thing. It's the very same thing as watching these programs. I've never been a cable person, but I do know of these programs where they would have all of these dysfunctional people on there and everybody would be yelling and screaming at each other. They're very low-based programming, right? Or sitcoms, that degrade you, because it's all a form of porn in one way or another.
It really is, isn't it?
And that's where they want to keep everybody. I mean, there is no intelligent programming, because it would be a very different world if there was intelligent programming. If I treated you in such a way that I gave you your intelligence to give back to me, it would be a very different interactive world.
Absolutely.
But what we have is, by design, a corrupt inversion.
Absolutely.
Reality. So everything is inverted here. Everything is based on the lower base.
Our base animalistic passions. They want to reduce us to animals.
Exactly.
And that's probably an insult to animals.
And it's a big insult to animals.
Absolutely. It's just amazing. And, even this whole thing about, 5G, we've got to connect the whole earth, and 5G is the only way we can do it. So we got to have 5G. And I realized the other day that the 5th generation isn't really the best way to connect to everything on earth. The original generation, talk to trees, talk to plants, talk to animals, talk to stones, talk to crystals. That's the real network.
Right. And that's the counterfeit version.
That's why I'm holding these things, because they will speak to you.
They do. Yeah.
Deborah gave me this, and they will bring you into communication with the real neural network of this planet.
However, in this inverted reality, they know that they have to create a counterfeit to the real thing, and they have to take it over and control you. So this is the reason why they utilize technologies, because the more that they do that, the less everybody connects. And it is really like the movie Avatar, right?
I just saw that for the first time a couple days ago.
We're the tree.
Yes.
The tree of life.
Absolutely.
That connects everything and everyone.
And how many people, there's that line in there where they fall in love and she says, I see you. How many people really see people anymore? Well, they don't. I mean, you got families I go to a restaurant. I don't go very often. I don't like to go to restaurants, but I'll see people at a restaurant, 5 family members around a table. They're all doing this, and you'll see them look up and nod at each other. They're talking to each other on the phone, and they're not even interacting with people.
I have no words for that. I just don't even, you know, things are really bad when you see that and that becomes the norm.
It is the norm.
You know, I don't know what kids do nowadays. I know I used to climb trees, and I used to, my friends were all the bugs and all the animals I could rescue. And
I'd get locked out of my house about 10 a.m. and I couldn't go back in until lunch. And then I couldn't come back in until dark. That's right. We were outside all day long.
Right. And there's something absolutely magnificent about that.
I think that's absolutely true. Now, Sandra told me that you have something that you've talked about, and you've talked about it with Wayne a lot. And she says that she's convinced that it didn't come from a 3D mind, that it has to be a download. Tell me about the declaration page.
Well, the declaration of non-consent and the revocation of consent, because really you have to revoke. Revoking means that whatever you have decided to agree to up until now is what you were revoking. So those two things go hand in hand together. And then, of course, the declaration of not consenting means that whatever from this point on, I'm not consenting to that. It isn't just saying that. It isn't just having a declaration and standing in it. You have to literally live a life where you try and make decisions based on that, because otherwise you render it moot. So if you're not willing to do the things in connection to those agreements, the new agreements that you're not agreeing to, then so it's a part of that. But it was a work done by various people who just keep adding to it. Gotcha. And over time, this can just grow because there's so many agreements of entrapment. And the whole purpose of it is that you can take your own personal life and you can create your own personal edition as per whatever it is that you've experienced, so that you're undoing that and collapsing it.
I do that all the time with people, and it's so powerful.
I mean, it's a good basis to use, and then you add your own things to it. And then you make decisions when you start seeing what is connected to it that you were doing in the past. You start making decisions. Like, for example, I love my landline. If I really want to use the phone, that's what I use. I do have a cell phone for emergencies, but I barely ever touch it. I would like to not touch it at all. So, but it's little things, right?
Right.
To stand in that, or I'm always putting my name on petitions, right? I mean, like, right. Huge on animal petitions and things like that. And ecological things, whatever you can do that is a part of that, or joining agricultural, and wherever somebody lives, there's always things that you can do to help. And it's just returning things to what it should be originally, or things that you don't agree with. So I write the mayor, right? I write a lot, right? I'm not in agreement with this, because then it's there. See, it's the law.
Gotcha.
And you as a sovereign being, this is your world. So if you start doing that, it does have an effect. It will change your life.
Absolutely. Now, do you think people bring into this life covenants, agreements, contracts that they absolutely can't change?
No, that's not. I don't believe that.
Thank you. Talk about that a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, there is nothing we cannot change. There is nothing. We can undo every single thing. It is completely mind magic to make somebody believe that they cannot undo a curse, or even to make somebody believe in a curse. It's all mind magic.
It is.
So there isn't anything that you cannot undo. Not a single thing in existence.
I could not agree with you more. I'm so glad to hear you say that. It's fantastic, and we can undo it. There's no doubt about it. Tell me a little bit about this conference for Sapiens that you and Wayne are working on?
Well, we are actually getting together to discuss that a little more. We haven't been able to yet, mostly because of me.
You're very busy.
Yeah, I am. Well, yeah, because of everything I'm doing and school.
Right.
So it makes it really difficult time wise, because the little tiny bit of free time, it's like I'm trying to put in a lot of things in there. So we are going to be working on something on behalf of woe mankind.
Woe mankind.
Yeah.
What is that?
People kind, womankind. We're like, I'm just dropping the whole mankind.
I gotcha.
And you know, even humankind, it's still you're sort of dissing the feminine aspect of it, and you're
Well, that's what we do. We diss the feminine aspect.
I know. So, you know, I don't really like using any of those. So I'm happy to use anything that is a egalitarian, equality based recognition of both, because we are both one. We complete each other, not one more than the other. So,
right.
So yeah, to bring that forward in a way that we will be able to affect change and have people come in to create that change.
That makes perfect sense. Now, do you know anything or have any opinions about the whole twin flame concept?
Oh yes, very much so.
Would you like to share?
Well, you know, there's a lot to that. And what I want to say is that for the most part, people are not really experiencing that.
Really? Okay.
It's very rare when it happens. Incarnates that can come in and handle that frequency is one of the rarest things to be able to get to.
I almost think it's like two separated pieces of an Elohim being, the God and the goddess.
It is. But mostly for both parties to be at the same place at the same time, that you're able to handle the frequency of transmuting everything, all the elements at once together in harmony, so that you collapse a lot of these. I mean, what it does is it changes everything for all time, but that is so rare. What I find is that if there's a real couple that have that dynamic, oftentimes they're not equal, as in one is more ready than the other, and their connection brings forward so much volatility, so much, because it's mirror to mirror.
Wow. And one of them could be really, really tired and worn out because of it.
Right. And the other one, it's usually, it comes with, and then when I say volatility, I don't mean the nice version of volatility. I mean brutal escalation.
But why would it if it's a divine pairing?
Well, I mean, if you haven't dealt with everything that you needed to in the past and you're still bringing it forward, you're going to project that to your counter.
Gotcha.
And vice versa. So you're going to be consumed with that more than anything else, because you're not ready. You may very well be two parts of the same piece, but you both have not overcome.
So the closets are all made out of glass and you can see every skeleton in them.
Everything. And then, but what you're doing is projecting it on to each other. So when you do that, it creates a lot of anger, and whatever it is that you haven't dealt with is what you're going to feel, and that's going to intensify. So being able to break through that and see it for what it is, and not react to it, but transmute it together harmoniously, so that you can, if you can get to that point, then I mean, wow, you can do so much. You can actually start at that point getting to the kernel that both of you have come in to utilize, and that kernel is what will transcend time and space. But that is a very difficult thing, because most people get hung up on the baggage and the projections and the mirroring and the you're dealing with your counterpart that is just like you, but you may be looking at the darker aspects of you, and it's being projected back onto you, so that whatever is hidden in you is coming to the surface.
Wow. Stephanie Lynn asked you, are you saying that true twin flame relationships will exhibit this volatility, because they're exponentially growing, expanding each other at an accelerated rate?
Yes, but it's what you do with that.
And when you say transmute, what do you mean by transmute?
Transmuting is when you take, in simple form, if you take a negative and you turn it into a positive.
Gotcha.
You transmuting space and time, energy, your particular version of reality. You can transmute it.
I call that balancing unbalanced energy.
Well,
rephasing it.
Right. I mean, it has to do with rewriting everything.
Yeah.
So
it's literally what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is very, very powerful.
Oh,
very,
yeah.
very powerful.
Yeah. Otherwise, you stay trapped. Right.
Now I have a question for you, kind of out of left field. I keep hearing this thing, and I don't know what people are talking about it, but when somebody starts talking about solar flares, what the heck are they talking about?
Well, okay, so solar flares would be well, everything is based on electromagnetism, right?
Right.
And we're in a sea of plasma.
And that's very Tesla-like thinking, and I agree with you.
So our concept of the sun, I find very interesting, because if we speak of the real sun versus the simulator, because,
Are you convinced that the sun we see in the sky is a simulator?
Yeah, it's hiding the real one. The real one's
Really?
behind it. But yeah, we're witnessing the simulator.
No kidding. See, that's outside my box. It's fascinating. I don't have a blink of, oh, she's crazy, but it just is like, wow, really? The real sun's behind a fake sun? Is it like a mechanical thing?
The simulator is, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And who built it? And who do you think?
Well, I think it would have to be probably our little guy there. I'm the jealous god.
And do the elites know that it's a simulator?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, I suspect that the elites are a part of its maintenance.
Okay.
The maintaining the simulator.
And why hide the real one?
Well, I think personally that the real one is exhibiting so many abnormalities and dysregulations in its emissions and its behaviors, that if we were to witness that, it would be too obvious for everyone, because we would know more of what's actually happening to us now with everything. So
Powerful.
In many ways, I think that they're trying to, obscure all of that from sight. And
that's amazing.
The simulator is, I mean, you can just, when you see the simulator, it can act more like its regular rotation, although it doesn't look regular at all. Anybody can see that it's nothing the way that we remember growing up, with that beautiful hue of yellow that would just cast a lovely, do you remember that hue that would be on everything, and it would just be this soft yellow coming off of stuff?
I do. And, I live here in Florida, and I do sun gazing, and I'm, beginning to wonder if I should still do that. But to me, especially in the morning, it does still kind of look yellow to me. It looks yellow, but it's not, it's hard for me to go back and think about it. If when I was a kid, I can't really get back there to remember how yellow it was.
Yeah, this version, the simulator is much more of an LED light, like it's much more of a laser white.
Gotcha.
Startling glare.
Interesting. So you're a psychic counselor, a forensic anomalous profiler, a spirit seer, and a practitioner of spirit energies. Now, what is a forensic anomalous profiler?
Forensic anomalous profiling means that I'll use my abilities to go in forensically, investigating your life and excavate. And when that happens, what you come out with is a profile of your life, of what are the forces that have been impacting you, of what is the dynamic at work and in operation. It really just reveals, it's pretty endless. Everybody is their own universe, as I say. So it will always be different. It'll be your particular profile that is unique to you.
Interesting. So help me maybe understand what you're doing. So where I will work with someone to go back through their own life track, you know,
yeah,
experience by experience by experience by experience, somewhat plotting, I guess, compared to what you do, you would be able to intuitively or quantumly look in yourself and identify places and take them right to them.
Right. Because there's a lot of things that people experience that they don't remember anymore.
Right. And I can do that, but it seems like it's a much more plotting process than what you do. And this is sovereignkey.com, home services, testimonials, media. Looks like a really a great place for people to go and find psychic guidance and quantum healing facilitation. So it's interesting to me where you can intuitively quantumly go take people right to those places. Now, do you take them there to do the fixing, or do you do the fixing yourself?
It's a combination. So I assist, because I do not feel that we should be doing the work for anyone. Just
I agree with you.
We have to do our own work. But I will assist, and I will change the energetics if I have to make it a little easier in certain ways. And for some people it isn't. But the responsibility is on them to do the work, but I will assist in many ways. And sometimes I continue doing that even when I sleep. I will do it.
Yeah.
I will keep working. So
do you think
it just
there's
depends
any
what my spirit tells me. If my spirit says you need to stay with that person for a while, then I will. So
do you think there's any loss of efficaciousness by not having a person go methodically through and having you just take them right to it?
I think that is not healthy at all.
To do what?
I think it's not healthy to have somebody taken to the place without them being methodically taken through the stages that they need to get there.
I gotcha.
Whatever that looks like, it has to be done, because I mean, it's the same thing. If I gave you all the answers, you would never do any of the work.
Exactly.
And you wouldn't really get the memo. You would form a pattern in the rest of your life that you would just want other people to do it for you, or to give you the answer. And that's exactly not what you want.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's not what you need. And I always say the way I work is I give you what you need, not always what you want.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because a lot of people today want everything to be handed to them.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people in the financial elite have always had everything handed to them. They've never really created anything themselves. So it's kind of like a bleed down of this silver spoon, I never did anything mentality that comes from the top down. But yet you got people that don't have the silver spoon and still think that everything's supposed to be handed to them. And it's just upside down and backwards. And we're just going down, and we're going down the drain fast if we don't get things turned around.
Yeah, that entitlement has become an epidemic.
It has. And I just saw today that, and those people that are silver spoon, daddy gave them a business, mommy gave them a business, they never had to do anything, they've had servants, they're entitled. But they got a lot of money, so they can get away with it.
Absolutely.
But those of us that have adopted that, and we're still entitled, but we ain't got no money, it ain't going to work. So the whole paradigm has to be shifted.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you've got an epidemic of narcissism as well. And it's watching what has been happening in the past 20 years has been really fascinating in some ways.
Have you had a chance to look at Sandra's channel and the series she did on narcissists, psychopaths, empaths, highly sensitive? I recommend it highly. Very, very powerful stuff.
Okay.
Very, very powerful. Would you say the moon is also not natural? I
completely think that the moon was placed here purposefully, that it's an artificial construct.
I agree 100%.
It's a technology, and it's a technology to interface with us on an emotional, physical level, to influence everything.
Absolutely. I agree. So as we wrap things up, what would you like to say that you haven't said, and what type of contact information would you like to share with our audience?
Well, my website, you already said, so sovereignkey.com, and my email is sovereignkeys, SOVEREIGNKEES @gmail.com. And there's also isovereignkey@gmail.com, which is just like my website, but with an I.
And if you'll send that information to me, I'll post
Sure.
it in the information box when this goes on YouTube.
And my YouTube is Sovereign Key.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Are you working on anything particular right now that you want people to check out?
Yeah, George and I are working on something that will be coming out quite soon. There is going to be another release prior to the project that George and I have. Which
And who's George?
George is my partner.
Okay.
And we do a lot of the webs together, a lot of the.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, you do excellent work. I think you have some great ideas that you're bringing to the table, many of them cutting edge. I think that you're really adding a lot to all of us, and we do thank you for your hard work, and I thank you for being with us here today.
Jeffrey, thank you. It's been fun. It's been great to connect. I'm glad we could finally do it, and I thank everybody.
Absolutely, and don't be a stranger. Let's do this again sometime.
Would love to.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for Sovereign Key, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This is the New Cosmic Knowledge channel. Make sure you check out her contact information, her website, as well as her YouTube. And remember, you're divine, you're sovereign, you're free. And I think Sovereign Key would agree with me when I say that only you can unindoctrinate yourself.
Absolutely.
Thanks again, and we'll see you again real soon.
Thank you.
Take care.